Master, how does one realize the Atman? Just then, Rakhal was about to take his meal in the Master's room. He hesitated at the sight of so many people. During those days, the Master looked on Rakhal as Gopal and on himself as Mother Yashoda. Master to Rakhal: why don't you eat? Let the people stand aside if you wish it. To a devotee: keep some rice for Rakhal. To Rakhal: do you intend to go to Van Hooghly? Don't go in this sun. Rakhal sat down to his meal. Sri Ramakrishna again spoke to the actor. Master, why didn't all of you take your meal from the kitchen of the Kali temple? That would have been nice. Actor: all of us don't have the same opinion about food. So our food is cooked separately. All don't like to eat in the guest house. While Rakhal was taking his meal, the Master and the devotees sat on the porch and continued their conversation. Master to the actor: you asked me about self-realization. Longing is the means of realizing Atman. A man must strive to attain God with all his body, with all his mind, and with all his speech. Because of an excess of bile, one gets jaundice. Then one sees everything as yellow. One perceives no color but yellow. Among you actors, those who take only the roles of women acquire the nature of a woman. By thinking of woman, your ways and thoughts become womanly. Just so, by thinking day and night of God, one acquires the nature of God. The mind is like white linen, just returned from the laundry. It takes on the color you dip it in. Actor: but it must first be sent to the laundry. Master: yes. First is the purification of the mind. Afterwards, if you direct the mind to the contemplation of God, it will be colored by God consciousness. Again, if you direct the mind to worldly duties, such as the acting of a play, it will be colored by worldliness. Sri Ramakrishna had rested on his bed only a few minutes when Hori, Narayan, Narendra Banerjee and other devotees arrived from Calcutta and saluted him. Footnote: Hori, a monastic disciple of the Master, later known as Swami Nikhilananda. Footnote ends. Narendra Banerjee was the son of the professor of Sanskrit at the Presidency College of Calcutta. Because of friction with other members of the family, he had rented a separate house, where he lived with his wife and children. Narendra was a very simple and guileless man. He practiced spiritual discipline and at the time of meditation heard various sounds, the sound of a gong and so on. He had travelled in different parts of India and he visited the master now and then. Narayan was a schoolboy 16 or 17 years old. He often visited the master, who was very fond of him. Hori lived with his brothers at their Bagh Bazar house. He had studied up to the matriculation class in the General Assembly institution. Then he had given up his studies and devoted his time at home to the contemplation of God, the reading of the scriptures, and the practice of yoga. He also visited the master now and then. Sri Ramakrishna often sent for Hori when he went to Balaram's house in Bagh Bazar. Master to the devotees. I have heard a great deal about Buddha. He is one of the 10 incarnations of God. Footnote: Hindu mythology speaks of 10 incarnations of God. Footnote ends. Brahman is immovable, immutable, inactive, and of the nature of consciousness. When a man merges his buddhi, his intelligence, in bodha, consciousness, then he attains the knowledge of Brahman. He becomes Buddha, enlightened. Nangta used to say that the mind merges in the buddhi and the buddhi in bodha, consciousness. The aspirant does not attain the knowledge of Brahman as long as he is conscious of his ego. The ego comes under one's control after one has obtained the knowledge of Brahman and seen God. Otherwise, the ego cannot be controlled. It is difficult to catch one's own shadow. But when the sun is overhead, the shadow is within a few inches of the body.